Hey everybody, it's Marty, the JavaScript party. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring, well, I tried to bring Rhett in this morning, but she decided to start chewing up on the wall. So she put like a couple of holes into the drywall over there, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, it's so weird, my camera. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see in the cam. So when I do this on my screen, I can see myself in OBS. Let me see if I can sort of duplicate it on here, and then yeah, see how it just sort of the whole thing just kind of flicks like we're in some sort of horror film or something. um yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if that's going to be in the final video, but yeah, I mean, and actually I've been dealing with some technical issues this morning, like when I first logged on and I tried to start working on this. The local host was already being used, even though I didn't have any instances of Visual Studio running or anything. So I had to completely restart the computer. I know there was like the OS update yesterday, so it wouldn't surprise me if something's wonky in the latest OS update. Um, but that's what we do. Now, I think it is super important as a developer for your own mental sanity to, wow, that is so distracting the way that's doing that. Um, I'll try not to look down there. For your own mental sanity to like kind of shut your whole system down and bring it up on a daily basis. I know it saves a lot of time if you already have the system up and running, but like just the going over and over and over again of restarting everything, like every time you go down that path you sort of learn a little bit more and you understand your system a little better. I am still gainfully employed, which is a good thing. I don't know what the deal is, but how much longer I have. There's just no telling. Like there's, it's like we're all in general in life we're all playing a big game of poker, and we have X number of cards that we get to see. And when you're an employee, you only have a couple of cards to look at. But the basically the person that I was sort of having issues, the person who I guess was having issues with me, who felt like my code wasn't worthy of being put into the code base, had decided to create his own PR and said, "Hey, now you explain to me why this is wrong." And I feel like that did kind of show sort of a just foundational difference between our mindset. And I do think that maybe that is a big problem with Agile, is that like like it there are people who have opinions about you, and you'll never know what those opinions are. But in Agile, people's opinions of each other seem to get exposed. And then sometimes that's a problem. But so this person made a PR and said, "Hey, explain to me why this is bad PR." Nothing wrong with their PR as far as I could tell. So I approved it. Now, that brings up another point. It's like, what is your responsibility as a developer? Is In a PR, and I don't think that's ever been very well explained. I personally think that this is what I try to do unless I'm told otherwise. I try to look at the code and make sure that the code does what the developer intended the code to do. So if I'm reading the code and it's just like redraw screen, but then there's nothing in their function that redraws the screen, I'm like that's to me like a red flag, right? Or if it's like, just basically, I just want to make sure that whatever their intention was is reached. And then second of all, I want to make sure that it builds or compiles or whatever it's supposed to do. So like I don't want to be signing something on PR and then find out it doesn't even build. I think that's something that just I don't want to do. And then third of all, I don't want my code. Oh, I don't want any console logs to get out there. I just don't think it's the responsibility of QA to check the console. But what I don't do is I don't go into the story, read the requirements of the story, and make sure that they pass the requirements of the story. I think you typically do have, if there's a QA, There should be they, and if there are BAs or project owners or whatever, it's really more on them to make sure that the code that the person wrote achieves the desires of the or the requirements of the story or the task or whatever bug. So that's my take on it. I've worked on some places where they don't expect you to make sure that it'll build, like they just want you to look for stylistic things. There's just all kinds of different things. But anyway, so for this, well, so it is 8:17, so I have to go to work in 43 minutes. I think it should probably be a fairly decent day at work today, I would guess. It's Wednesday, it's cold, it's rained the whole night, but it's not raining now. So that is that. So I got all of the sort of boilerplate, sort of foundational stuff done yesterday, ending up with the mesh service. And the mesh service was, oh, we did not finish up the mesh service. All we did was, is it the mesh service? Oh, yeah, no, I guess we did finish it up. I feel like there's, wait, is this the three? Oh, that's the three side. So the ST side is where we should see a lot more code. And yeah, so we did that. And oh, we did do a bit of refactoring. So now, oh, and that's the material. Hang on. Yeah, here we go. We did a bit of refactoring. We changed these to IDs instead of actual references to the objects. I don't want to try to manage making sure that I don't inadvertently create like a memory leak by having a reference to an object, and then I'm no longer using that object, but I didn't update the mesh to no longer use that. So like what you could do is you could end up creating a geometry that you use, and then changing that geometry. And when you change that geometry, the system doesn't need the old geometry anymore. But if you still have a reference to it, it'll keep it. And that is a memory leak. It'll keep a reference to the old geometry. So I'm only going to reference the geometry ID, which should be immutable. It should never, ever, ever change. So if the geometry changes, it should be the it will still have the same ID. So I won't have any obscure references to it. Now I kind of do violate that principle here, and I just think it's just going to make coding a lot easier. But I could end up with a bad reference here pretty easily. It'll be interesting to see if having access to the actual object is useful. I have a feeling having access to the actual objects is going to be incredibly useful in animations. But we'll see. Well, with this architecture, it probably won't. But anyway, so now it's time to, I think it's time to actually add an animation. And the place we would add, a mesh to our to our visualization. And the place we would do that would be in the get base scene, I think. The scene, yes. So here we can add an animation, a mesh, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And and hopefully when we do that, it'll just automatically appear in there because it's already getting rendered. So we have our meshes. And it's always like you'll see a lot of people who they'll just do it straight in here, and I do have some respect for that, but I also like kind of the explicit nature of doing something like this. st scene dot st, oops, hit the insert button, dot st meshes dot push. And then, like, do I want to do it in here, or would I rather just create one? And I think I'm going to do this. Const base mesh. So the downside to this, or maybe upside, depending on what you think, is that we need to strongly type this. I think I would have thought that it does not look like I've already imported 3. Oh, and we don't need to import 3. We want to get an ST mesh. And I think it'll just automatically go download that reference equals, but we don't have a reference to, we have not injected the mesh service. So private mesh service equals inject. Mesh service. Now, and then base mesh, and then we want to use this dot mesh service and get, create mesh. Okay, I don't like any of this. I don't know, it must have pulled the wrong mesh. Oh, see, it pulled the 3 mesh service, and I didn't want the 3 mesh service. I wanted the ST mesh service. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. Oh, and it's not is it? It's an ST. Okay. See, and this actually was a good thing, I think. So we want it to be an ST mesh service, an ST mesh service, ST mesh service, and this time it's like, I don't know how to make you happy here. So there, and then this is ST, and this is where I think the actual architecture really helped me. All right, so now I don't know. Oh, and that is just going to give me a number. So let's call that, and this is, I don't know if you should, I think, to me, just, I don't know, maybe it's some sort of indication of some if but I feel like that's what you should do. You should say, hey, this is supposed to be a number, so that as a developer you can express what your intentions were, so that if someone's doing a PR and they do the PR like me, where they go, okay, was this their intention? And then they can see, oh, my intention was to get a number here. But I think a lot of linters will hit that. But I guess since this is my project, I can just do that. Base mesh. And this is an ST mesh. And this is equal to this dot ST mesh service dot get mesh by ID, and then base mesh ID. And then base mesh. Now, I guess maybe we'll circle back around at some point in the future and maybe refactor the ST meshes to be IDs, not actual meshes. But for now, I guess we'll do this since we have everything built out above it. And I think there's a chance that we'll have a non-animated mesh in that upper left corner after I hit save. So let's see what happens. Rebuilding. Nothing. All right. expect. It's so crazy how stressful that is. So it got drawn and all that, but for some reason it did not work. Okay, so we do get, yeah, we do get one of these scenes. And so our scene is being, so we're back up to the top of the renderer. Maybe the renderer doesn't support scenes, but the renderer provides a scene and all that. So let's just, I guess the first thing to do is just double check that .log, that our scene over here actually has a let's render dict ID. Scene is a, okay, so this is a 3 scene. Render. Create renderer. It's a web renderer. Okay, I'm on the wrong. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, let's go to the ST side. So I'm back in the 3 side. That kind of makes me think, oh man, I should have maybe named it 3 because it would be obvious. I keep going there and not realizing that there's that. Okay, so we do know that this gets seen. So where does render happen? See, I never do this, but let's see. I think I can say go to implementations. No. Go to references. And then render service. Render service renders the string. Okay, so this is where strender3 scene. Okay, so this doesn't actually use 3 camera. Oh, STC3 scene, yeah. ST render, ST scene, 3 scene as scene. And then I passed the 3 scene in here. So let's do this and just make sure that our console. To me, it looks like I don't have the plumbing in yet for. Oh, see, this is where, okay, so I'm using the 3 scene. Yeah, so from ST scene. So I want to see what my ST render ST scene is. I'm actually, okay, so I get an ID. So I'm not even using the ID. I'm just using the one that gets created here. I'm just so curious where this ST renderer is coming from. Oh, okay, it's getting it from the dictionary. Okay, so let's console log the ST renderer and see what we have there. ST renderer. I'm guessing that I have not wired it up to use the whole object, that all the stuff. Okay, so ST renderer. I don't know which. Okay, so this does have the array of 1 in it. Now there's going to be 2 of them, but they both do have an array of 1, so it does seem to have the right thing in there. So let's look at our ST scene. And this is where things get confusing because we have 2 of them. it's hard to know which one of these. Well, looks like only one ST render service. Okay, yeah, so we definitely have our array of scenes there. It's supposed to take my, but it, okay, but it's 3scene apparently doesn't have a renderer. So let's go to, okay, so when we create a scene, right, we have constructor create scene, get scene by get base scene. Go to definition. Get base scene definitely gets a. It definitely 3scene gets meshes. Okay, so Alt left to go back. So what's the time right now? 8:33. We're still good. Okay, so we get our base scene, we have our ST scene. And it will create a scene. Okay, so let's go back to create base scene. And where does it create a ThreeJS scene? Here is, it creates the scene and in this scene service. So let's see. Oh, okay, so in the scene service, nowhere, it doesn't ever add a mesh to a scene. It just creates some, so we need, and this will be the first one of these in this side where we add like that. So we need to be like, add mesh to scene. And then it takes an ID, which is a number. And then it will return, what do I guess we generally return the ID. We'll return the ID. It'll return a number. We'll probably, we may end up changing that. I don't think so though. I think that, and then we're gonna say, scene, which is a type of scene, which is a type of, oh my gosh. Is equal to, I wonder if I should, I guess I should use my, this is kind of funny, but return ID. So quick llorando, that's cry in Spanish. So it can quit crying, and then or nagging me. It quit nagging. I think nagging might be a better, more descriptive word of what that was doing. Okay, so now we have our scene, which we know is a 3scene dot add dot mesh. Okay, time to go to ChatGPT. How do I add a scene, a mesh to a scene? Curious if what I if I had needed to tell it 3JS. Yep, I did not need to. So we do all this. We create our geometry. We're doing that. We do our material. We have our scene. Oh, add. That's, yeah. So yeah, and this is like kind of an example where like I feel like It probably should say add mesh, right? Because I think you can add other things too, and it should be more explicit. But I don't, not really. I mean, okay, so we do need a mesh, and what we are going to get is a scene, an st scene, right? st. We're not in the st side, right? Yeah, we are in the 3 side scene, and that's of type st. st scene dot meshes. I guess we're gonna want to do this for all of them, but for now I'll just no, because we aren't getting a mesh, we're getting a mesh ID. Okay, so I think we should do the 3 mesh here. And I'll leave it up to the ST side to loop and do whatever it's going to do. All this thing is just going to just, in a very clean, simple way, it's just going to add the mesh to the scene. So we are clearly not using that yet. I am running out of time. I have to start work in about 20 minutes. So happy coding, everybody. Bye.